And then if you think about this, let's say we're into this the first, second year, 3 years. Let's go 3 years into the 7 years. For 3 years, we've been stacking up 20% of this grain. It must have been a mountain of grain. And the people around him are thinking, Joseph, what do you think? Probably got enough, huh? I mean, dude, we got bumper crops every year. We're stacking it up. The mice are eating it. We got to hire more people. We got to carry it around. We got to bring it in wagons. We're making wagons to transport it. And Joseph says, no, we got 4 more years to go. So year 4 comes, year 5, year 6. They've got to be like, dude, what are you doing? We are in abundance. Don't you get that? We have more grain than we can count, and you still are stacking it up. They're like, they must have thought Joseph was nuts. So here is Joseph administratively managing a team on a task that was not popular. That's speculation on my part, but I'm thinking 6 years or even the 7th year into abundance, grain beyond measure, the guy's a lunatic. Pharaoh made a bad call. This guy's a kook. But here is Joseph supernaturally managing this team. If you can imagine, he would have been like the President of the United States practically, managing a government over a national tax and a national bank. That's something. And then year 8 comes. Ooh, we got a short year. Woo! Way to go, Joe! Here come people, it's hungry, there's famine going on, and he starts selling them for gold, grain in exchange, right? That goes on year after year. Year 9, year 10, year 11. Pretty soon the people are starting to run out of money. That have come from these other nations, they're starting to run out of gold. Joseph is administrating piles of gold. If you think about it, if you look at a map, the Promised Land, Babylonia, Assyria, all these nations starving to death, moving across the desert into Egypt, populating this. I mean, the administrative taskers are numbing to think about it. Think about what Joseph had. He was excellent. What he was, the word for excellent is to jut above. That's our calling. My first point, that the two extremes are one. My second point is that we are called to be excellent, to jut above. What Joseph was displaying was excellence in skill, in communication, in motivation. It's the idea here of developing ourselves to become remarkable in what we're doing. That is as supernatural as the miracle, in my opinion. Because the natural state of man, left to ourselves, we kind of devolve, we kind of wear out, we kind of settle. So the hunger for excellence is, again, supernatural. The third thing is the idea of perfection. We're called to be perfect. We're coming up on my first sozo moment here. Perfectionism. Now, when I'm talking about excellence, what I'm not talking about is perfectionism. The Greek mind for perfection is without flaw, right? When we think perfect, we think something has no flaw on it. Like my wife, who just stepped in, and I'm making some great points right now. Yatir. Okay. Now, no, perfect without flaw. That is the Greek mentality. And yet it says in the Bible, Matthew 5:48, you are to be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. So as administrators, how many administrative people, don't raise your hand, imagine your friend. Your administrative friend, how many of them have a perfectionism on them, a perfectionist spirit, which is wounding, weakening, a problem for them? The Hebrew mind, when you say perfect, it means to be brought to maturity, to be complete, or to operate as intended or designed. different than the Greek mentality of without flaw.
Thank you.
Freedom. We're going to have a sozo over this in a moment.
Say that again.
I will.